G'day viewers, there's some exciting news. We're going nuclear. Anyway, it's Cargo Line Volume 5 Nuclear coming soon for Train Sim World, and we do have a release date which I will get to at the end. We can see here an image of two Class 20s, DRS-like I'm going to call them because they are unbranded. They've obviously had some work done to them with a couple of nuclear flasks and their dedicated carriages jammed in between them. The Cargo Line series continues. Take care with delicate high-security cargo in Volume 5 Nuclear, coming from Skyhook Games on the 18th of November. So much for telling you at the end, eh? We first announced Cargo Line Volume 5 Nuclear in the June roadmap, showing off the modernised Class 20 locomotive and the unique flask wagons. Nuclear trains, what are they? We can see here another image of a couple of Class 20s. This time they're running back to back, long nose to long nose, hauling the flasks. The gameplay with this add-on simulates the movement of radioactive nuclear material up and down two stretches of the West Coast Main Line. The role of these trains is simple: safely carry nuclear flasks between power stations and processing centres across the UK. This important task has made them a popular and rare catch for enthusiasts, and despite their reduction in nuclear power plants since the millennium, the trains are still seen in use to this day. Due to the volatile nature of their cargo, well, actually, it's not. It's more like people want to steal it. Nuclear trains are often operated with multiple locomotives at once. The modernised Class 20/3 was one such type of locomotive assigned to the role. Bookending the wagons between the locos protects them against any direct impact, and additional diesel engines added contingency in case of failure. Where possible, the nuclear train must remain moving and is given high priority across the network. The BR Class 20/3 locomotive overview and history, and we can see a couple of brightly lit Class 20s here. I've driven a Class 20, they're actually a lot of fun. Quite powerful, such a small beast. The English Electric Type 1 Class 20 locomotives, known to many as choppers because of the distinctive engine sounds, first appeared in Train Sim World as a loco add-on for the Tees Valley Line, set in the early 1990s. Cargo Line Volume 5 introduces a new contemporary version, circa 2000. Developed in the 1950s, the English Electric Type 1 was first major step on British Railways' path to dieselisation. After many trials and failures, the Type 1 showed promise as a 1,000-horsepower locomotive, and between 1957 and 1968, a total of 228 would be produced. The Type 1s took over from steam locomotives of equivalent power, primarily working light, mixed freight traffic throughout the Midlands and in Scotland. Unlike newer locomotives, the Type 1s featured a rather unique single-cab design. You can see here the modernised driving desk of the Class 20, complete with TPWS and a panic button. The cab situated at the rear of the locomotive has controls facing in either direction and gives the locos a tank engine-like appearance, with the diesel engine and onboard equipment sat much like how a firebox and boiler would in front of the cab. So I don't know why they think it's like a tank engine-like appearance, because tank engines have tanks on the side. Class 20s don't. It just, okay, it looks a little bit like a steam engine, but, smokes like one. Visible when travelling nose first was quickly realised as a concern, so it became common to see pairs of Type 1s coupled at the nose, allowing for a greater view of the track ahead with the added benefit of doubling the horsepower, meaning they can handle heavier trains. I don't know that there's that much of a concern because there's no less visibility than a large steam engine, really, when it's travelling in the other direction. It just means you need two people. You can't run them as driver only because you can't see when going around the corners. With the introduction of the TOPS classification system, the EE Type 1s were rebranded as BR Class 20s. Despite being some of the oldest diesels around, the Class 20s have remained in operational use to this day and have survived into preservation, making them a frequent sight on heritage railways. Most of the ones on heritage railways are actually active engines. A number of Class 20s were once used in operations in France and to construct the High Speed 1 line featured in Southeastern High Speed. They have also been used to operate RHTTs, which is something that can be loosely recreated using the Formation Designer and free roam features in-game. Nuclear operations and modernization. We see here a Class 47 and a carriage with the security core and two flasks in another carriage. And behind it, there's either an 86 or an 87, one or the other. In the June roadmap, Skyhook Games explained, created as a wholly owned subsidiary of British Nuclear Fuels during the late 1994, Direct Rail Services, or DRS, had the sole purpose of taking over rail-based handling of nuclear material from British Rail. Initially operating from the reprocessing plant at Sellafield, DRS opened a dedicated depot at Carlisle Kingmore Yard in 1998 to cater for its new fleet of 15 X-Channel Tunnel Works Class 20 locomotives. We can see two of them here at work with a flask suspended between them. DRS eventually operated a fleet of 21 examples of the English electric Type 1s, being significantly upgraded by brush traction of Loughborough, with long-range fuel tanks, group standard headlight clusters, high-impact windscreens, and a complete cab rebuild, before outshopping them in iconic Oxford blue livery with fully yellow ends and red buffer beams. The Class 20/3 in this add-on represents features circa year 2000 and includes YPAC headlights, modernised cab including NRN and GSMR equipment, non-functional nuclear panic button, so if you push it, it explodes, right? Removal of head code discs, the FNA nuclear flask wagon, or FNA-D, I should say. And apparently they are not to be cheated. No authorised persons must trespass on this vehicle. You can see here, it's a fairly detailed wagon, actually. It's quite an interesting looking machine. It's a modern welded design, built like a bridge, basically. Sandwiched between a pair of Class 20s is the FNAD nuclear flask wagon new to Transim World. The original fleet of FNA wagons were built by British Rail and later Procore for the transport of spent nuclear fuel from power stations to processing and research centres. These fascinating wagons came into service in the 1970s and became an iconic part of the network, performing this important task. In the 2010s, it was identified that replacements were required. The Nuclear Decommissioning Authority commissioned W.H. Davis to produce 40 new wagons as a like-for-like replacement for the original FNAs. That's why they're new and shiny. The new batch featured several major updates, including exposed framing, different bogies, and the ability to carry a wider range of flask designs. Despite the reduction in nuclear power plants in the UK since the millennium, the FNADs can still be in use across much of the UK. Gameplay and route add-ons, Cargo Line Volume 5 adds nuclear services and scenarios to two stretches of the West Coast Main Line. West Coast Main Line Preston Carlisle and West Coast Main Line London Milton Keynes. You can see here a Class 47 with two coaches and two flasks. West Coast Main Line, Preston Carlisle, 3 scenarios, 14 timetable services. These represent trains running out of Sellafield nuclear site, with in-game services running between Carnforth Preston and Carnforth Carlisle, as well as Morecambe Preston and Morecambe Carnforth, originating off the map at Heysham Harbour. These services are operated by Class 47 locomotives that feature in the route add-on, with formations including Mark 1 BG coaches either side of the FNA-D wagons. And we see here 2 more Class 20s with an Avanti West Coast behind. On the West Coast Main Line, London to Milton Keynes, there are 2 scenarios and 4 timetable services. These represent trains running out of Sellafield and Dungeness nuclear sites, with in-game services running between Williston Junction and Milton Keynes, as well as services starting and ending at Bletchley and Williston Brent sidings. Riviera Line services. Work in progress, and that looks remarkably like a DRS Class 66 shed. Prior to the release of Transium World 6, we also mentioned the planned nuclear train services that Rivet Games Tyler implemented into the Riviera Line timetable. These will be made available for players that own a Cargo Line Volume 5, plus the other add-ons required for this unique formation. 8th generation consoles. Please note that for PlayStation 4 and Xbone, the spread of other trains running around has been reduced to provide acceptable performance, i.e. none. This reduction does not apply to PC, Xbox S or X or PlayStation 5 versions. Train Sim World 6 Cargo Line Volume 5 Nuclear is releasing on the 18th of November for the Xbone, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Epic Games Store, and Steam of £12.99, €15.99, or $16.99 US dollars. So it'll be something in the vicinity of 22 to 24 Australian dollars, depending on the exchange rates. I would imagine that I will be streaming this on the 17th at about 9 p.m, pending notification. Waiting for me key. But anyway, I'm actually quite interested in this one, and you know for sure that I am going to recreate the famous shot of driving a Class 46 with some coaches into the side of one of these things. You know that's going to happen somewhere, don't you? We won't be using a 46 though, because there isn't one, so we'll have to use either a 40, I think there's a 45 in the game, maybe, and there's certainly the 47s. So there's plenty of opportunity for locomotives to blast into the side of the thing. If you haven't seen the video, go and hunt it out on YouTube. Look for nuclear flask test. That's probably good enough. You will find quite a few people who are hosting it. They've all clearly copied it from each other, so I won't give you one because I don't know who the first one was, although it's probably this one on Fleetline 119 because it was there 17 years ago, as distinct from the others that were put there 11 months ago. But anyway, I just think that'll be fun. Cool stuff. I did have an excellent chat with Adam of Skyhook about the Cargo Line Volume 5 Nuclear, and we chatted about a lot of the challenges that came up during development of this thing, and I'm pleased to see that Skyhook have overcome those challenges and released the pack, which is excellent news. Alrighty, as usual, I read these articles to you to improve the accessibility of the information for those who can't or won't go and read it for themselves. Have fun, folks. If you have any questions or comments about the nuclear flask trains, please let me know down below. And please don't tell me you hate nuclear, because I really don't care. This is a simulator, real life. Alrighty, have fun, folks. Enjoy yourselves, and always see you later.
We played a game.